list as well and the restitution amount.
Boy.
Yeah.
Court does call the case, people of the state of Michigan versus Danae Brooks.
And Public Defender Natalie Pate for Miss Brooks, who stands to my left. Please state your name, ma'am.
Danae Brooks.
Hello. Okay, we had at the last hearing, this was a expungement, or actually a set aside that was set for hearing to actually reinstate the case, as I'm recalling. And then the last time that we were here, I found out that Ms. Brooks had actually been making restitution payments. Well, let's put it this way. You had been making payments, I think, on a civil judgment, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir. As well as this judgment.
Right. And the court's concern was that somebody was double dipping. How should we put it that way? I don't know if intentionally or not. I hadn't gotten that far, but it seemed to me that this case could be set aside because payments were being made and had been made. Counsel, our file reflects, well, do we have an amount?
I have total restitution is $59.25 and 30 cents.
That's still owing.
Yeah.
The judgment, and Ms. Brooks, I apologize. I can remember some of this and some of it I forget. Okay, but the judgment that you paid on, how much of that have you paid?
I paid all of that, which was $1,700.
Your Honor, if I may, my understanding on the judgment, the amount she did pay the judgment in full, and Ms. Coons was able to confirm that with the plaintiff's attorney, the insurer at the time, that was $1,857, but attorney fees were included in that. The judgment, the amount that went towards the PIP benefits was $1,634.55. But Ms. Brooks did pay the entire judgment in full, which did include attorney's fees.
Okay. Were you able to determine whether or not the insurer had paid the alleged victim?
No, Your Honor, that is the information I did not have, if it did pay out to the alleged victim or where that money came. No, I don't have that information if that the insured paid out the complaining witness.
So I still have then the 5930. Ms. Brooks, approximately, I mean, I've got the payment records, but you can maybe just ballpark it for me. Approximately how much are you paying on this per month?
Between like 50, maybe $50 and $100. My arrangements is like $50 a month. Sometimes I
Who
pay
did you
more.
make those arrangements with? Our collections department?
Yes, Alexis.
Okay. All right. Well, here's what I want you to do. All right. Because what I did is we sent notice to a victim of this crime. And so that you know, and I don't know if I explained this to you, Ms. Brooks, if you paid the restitution, then this conviction gets set aside. Right?
Right.
If you haven't, then I have to reinstate the conviction. So you have a stake in here of not having a conviction on the record if it's that way. So And it is a bit troublesome to me that the person that's receiving the monies from the court, when the court says you need to be here, isn't here. You are. Okay, I was not aware. Can you come forward then, please? You move to one side or the other.
Have a seat over there.
Thank you. Before I said all those bad things about you, I just,
That's
no,
okay.
I'm just kidding. What's
Want to
your
be
name?
respectful. Joyce Harris.
Joyce Harris. All right. So Ms. Harris, here's what I'm trying to figure out so that you know. There was a civil judgment that has been paid off by Ms. Brooks, right? And then there was restitution, and I was not the judge handling the case, so, but there was restitution that was ordered. She's been paying the restitution. And the question for me was, what was the restitution for?
The restitution was for medical bills, for my lawyer. Mainly the bulk of it was medical bills and lost time at work that I had to take off from work. So it was itemized with the state of Michigan attorney that assisted me at the time of the court case.
Hold on, the state of Michigan attorney.
Yeah, so the plaintiff that prosecuted on my behalf at the time.
The prosecutor?
Yeah, at the time I didn't have a lawyer. So they were prosecuting on my behalf.
No, I
Provided
get
them
it.
with an itemized list of the breakdown of each and every bill that I had. And on the date of restitution, I don't believe the defendant arrived. They didn't show up, so they ruled in my favor.
Your Honor, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Morgan Burrows on behalf of the people. That is an accurate statement. The defendant failed to hear for the restitution hearing on October 12th of 2016. The victim
Got it.
was present and provided documentation in support of her requests. Judge Conlon ordered restitution in the amount of $9,325.30 and 22 equal monthly installments.
Okay, yeah, I see that here. Here's my question. This all came from the operation, which the court, this is what raised the issue in my head. This came from the operation of an automobile?
Yes, I was involved in a hit and run.
Okay. Was your vehicle covered?
No, I had no fault. It wasn't covered. What they did was, because I didn't have gap insurance, I actually still owe a little bit on there. So I had an auto loan, and I believe I had about $6,000, maybe $5,000 left to pay on it. But that was part of the itemized list as well, and the restitution amount.
Boy.
Yeah.
So you didn't. Your vehicle was not covered. You didn't have insurance on your vehicle.
I did. I had Progressive insurance. And I believe they only paid what the value of the car was. It was completely totaled because it was a flip over car accident. I flipped over 3 times and landed upside down on the side of the freeway on 94.
Okay.
They did pay what the totaled out value was, but it went directly towards my auto loan at the time, and it didn't completely cover the entirety of it. So the difference is what I've placed in the itemized list with my restitution.
So the difference.
Yes.
So with reference to your medical,
Mhm.
they didn't pay that?
No.
Did they give you a reason why they didn't pay your medical?
They didn't give me a reason. I just got
You didn't
bills.
have, did you have full
bills.
coverage?
I have full coverage because I had auto.
Because you had the
I-
auto loan on it.
Right. So the reason why I had certain amounts is because I received bills in the mail bills from this doctor, that doctor, this hospital. And those were the only ones that I placed into my restitution, was the ones I had physical bills for. And the plaintiff at the time assisted me with that.
Okay, so bottom line,
Mhm.
your insurance did not cover.
The entirety of my medical bills.
Did they cover any of them?
Well, the thing is with medical insurance, we never really know.
Huh?
When you go to the doctors decide on what they would bill and how much. And this is something that isn't purview to me. They'll bill the insurancer, and then anything left over, they'll send me a bill, right? Because I was the recipient. So when I went to the hospital, of course, at that time, we didn't have that Michigan law. So they would ask me for my insurancer and I guess my insurance number, and they planned to bill my insurance company. Anything left over, I received a bill for. Those bills were the only ones that I had itemized on my restitution.
Okay. So you had to pay that difference in medical.
Yes, I'm working towards paying off all of my debt.
All right. So this isn't a circumstance where anything that was claimed on restitution was covered at all by insurance. Is that what you're indicating?
Yes, correct. Anything that I requested restitution for, insurance did not cover
At any point?
at any point.
The judgment that you received, what was that for?
The judgment, excuse me, the judgment that Ms. Brooks did pay on, that was the 1,857 figure, which came from that 21C case. The note in the file for Ms. Coons says that she spoke to Progressive's attorney, the plaintiff, in that action, and that was for the personal injury protection injuries that Progressive had already paid for. It was nothing that Ms. Harris had paid for out of pocket, that as Ms. Palmer, the attorney for Progressive, is aware of. So to my understanding, the judgment that Ms. Brooks paid on was paid back to Progressive, and that was not anything that Ms. Harris had paid out of pocket, medically speaking. And my understanding was that the injuries that Ms. Harris claimed for restitution that Progressive did not cover, there was no overlap. And that initially on the 21C case, Progressive was trying to claim the car, but then they did amend their complaint and took the car out of it due to the criminal case restitution. So to my understanding, the judgment that Ms. Brooks did pay on, there was no overlap as to the.
That's why they dismissed the other case.
To my understanding.
Got it. And that's what raised a red flag for me. So what had happened, so I don't know if anybody knows this, Ms. Brooks should from the last hearing. They originally filed a case that was very close to the number that you had in restitution.
Okay.
Which also raised a red flag for me, because then that case dismissed out. This other case comes up with a much lower figure.
Right.
So what I thought had happened was, and this now explains it, that they had paid you somehow and then just took what they had left, but then she's paying you something that they had already paid you. But now that, well, it doesn't make sense. I get it. Okay. All right. Anything else?
No.
You want to
Do you
stay on?
need anything else from me?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay.
I thank you for coming
No problem.
and trying to clarify all of this.
Of course, of course.
Thank you. Okay. All right, anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor. That is all, Your Honor. That was all the information I had.
Okay. So for the court, the great mystery is solved. What I'm going to have to do, this case, as I've indicated, this case will be reinstated. The conviction, the automatic set aside cannot occur because of restitution that's owed. As I had indicated to you, Ms. Brooks, I thought there might have been a double payment, and that's why I wanted the public defender's office to contact the insurance company. With that and what Ms. Harris has indicated, it now, while it seems an awkward way for the things to happen, it makes sense now. That's why they particularly got rid of that other case. Not because they had paid Ms. Harris, but not because they had paid everything, but they got rid of it because they paid the loan on the vehicle, or at least part of it. And then they said that since there was this criminal restitution, they weren't going to do that. And then they went after you for what would have been medical that Progressive had covered. So the only thing that ultimately would have happened is your restitution bill here, had Progressive done nothing, let's say they hadn't paid Ms. Harris anything or hadn't paid part of the insurance or anything, your bill would have been approximately $1,700 higher here. But the court is satisfied that there was not intentional or unintentional double dipping into anything, or that Ms. Harris is getting paid twice, or that the insurance company, somebody was getting paid twice. So you still owe, bottom line, you still owe the restitution. Because of the statute, I cannot set aside the conviction. The cases will be reinstated. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, folks, for helping me solve this great mystery.
Thank you,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Harris, thank you.
See you later.
Northville Crossing versus Jenny Hicks.
Good morning, Your Honor. Rachel Dornbush, Pallets Law, on behalf of the plaintiff.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm looking at the
Jenny
wrong sheet.
Hicks,
No wonder I can't find
they
it.
are not here. Would you like to take a default? I have
Yes,
second mailing. Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Again, for the record, Your Honor, Rachel Dornbush, Pallets Law, on behalf of the plaintiff. Your Honor, there's rent to retain of $1,709.22, cost of $189, for a total due of $1,898.22. We'd ask for a default possession only judgment with writ to issue after 10 days.
Judgment to the plaintiff, that is by default for possession, redemption amounts in the amount requested, writ to issue in 10 days. Northville Crossing versus Kelsey Perry. I guess I got others.
Morning.
Kelsey Perry, Denzel Perry, and Alice Coburn.
Good morning,
Good morning. What's your name?
Kelsey Perry.
Okay. And what is the claim in this case?
Total with costs, Your Honor, $1,880.22.
All right. And ma'am, how do you guys intend on getting that paid?
I have a different number, but I was gonna try to pay it by the 31st, but the number seems a little high to me.
Say that again. You gotta
I
turn
was
down.
planning on paying it by the 31st, but the number she just said seems a little high to what it should be.
Well, how do you intend, you're gonna pay it by the 31st? That's it? Or
Yeah, it just seemed a little high. Was there like a breakdown or something of like the court costs and stuff?
Your Honor, the rent to retain is $1,582.22. Court costs are $298 for the total
Okay.
$1,880.22.
Okay, that makes more sense because
that
I
makes
thought the
sense
court
to you,
costs
ma'am?
went. Yes.
All right, let me ask you this. You say you're gonna pay everything by the 31st?
Well, I planned on paying the 1,500 by the 31st. I wasn't figuring in the court costs.
All right, but now that you know that the court costs are there, how are you gonna get that paid?
I could still try to get it by the 31st, but I know I can at least have the past due amount paid for sure.
All right. So are you looking to pay that right on the 31st?
Um, it'll probably be a couple days before that, by like the 29th.
Okay, well, here's what I'm gonna do. There isn't a tribal issue in this case. So I'm gonna grant to the plaintiff a judgment. It does a couple of things for you. It locks in the number because if we go past the 31st, if I give you an adjournment, we're gonna be talking about June rent. And I don't think you want to do that. I think you were trying to get May paid off and then you're gonna work toward June. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to find no tribal issue and by default as to defendants 2 and 3. No tribal issue as to defendant 1. And I'll grant a judgment for the total amount of $1,880.22. The writ date normally on this man would be the 27th. I'm going to extend that to May 30th for you.
Okay.
Okay, that's sort of splitting the difference between when you think you're going to get it paid in the end of the month. So a
Okay.
writ would issue May 30th.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Court does call the case of Red Shield Rentals versus Carla, is it Carvajal?
Hola, buenos días, señor juez.
Hi, good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Buenos
Could
días.
you let her know that I've called her case?
No la hice su intérprete en español. Se estaría llamando, se estaría repasando su caso ahora.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Fantero, what is the claim in this case? How much is owing?
The current balance,
Hold on. Let Madam Interpreter interpret.
Para el señor Fantera, ¿de cuánto sería el reclamo en este caso? ¿Cuánto es que se debe?
Bueno, del mes pasado, por la demanda de la corte de los 2.200 y tanto, ya no se debe nada. Y actualmente de este mes, solo estamos debiendo 950, de cual ya se emitió el cheque, pero estamos afuera de la oficina esperando que llegue el personal para, para recibir el cheque, que no ha llegado nadie, pues.
Well, from last month, from the lawsuit from the court, it was $2,200, but nothing is owed anymore of that amount. And for this month is 150, and we're outside the office right now. We're waiting for the staff to get here and for the check to be issued, but we haven't heard anything.
Okay, Mr. Fantera, how much does the plaintiff claim is owing?
well, they
Hold
did
on.
pay, they did pay April.
Para el señor Fantera, ¿cuánto es que se debe entonces? Bueno, sí se pagó lo que fue el mes de abril.
They have
Sí,
paid,
ya,
they
sí, ya
have,
está pago el mes de abril.
Miss
Lo que me
Carvajal,
llegó de la
please.
demanda de la corte ya está pago y parte del mes de ahorita de mayo ya está pago. Solo se restan 950, ya emitimos el cheque y estamos afuera de rentals esperando que llegue la señorita Emily para terminar de cancelar el mes de mayo.
What did she say?
Yes, last month was paid, and a portion of this month was also paid already. And the only amount left to pay is 950. And we issued that check, and we're outside the rental office right now, waiting for Miss Emily.
Your Honor, 950 is correct,
950?
is correct. And
Sí, su señor.
that includes court costs, Your Honor.
¿Qué dijo?
Go ahead, Madam Interpreter.
Sí, su señoría, la cantidad de $950 sí
¿Me
es
repite, por favor?
correcta.
Ms. Carvajal, you'll have to stop talking.
Señora
ahead,
Carvajal,
ma'am.
sí puede. Sorry. Señorita Carvajal, si puede por este momento dejar de hablar para que se le pueda decir. Un momento. Se le decía al juez que sí, la cantidad de 950 es correcto y esta cantidad ya incluye costos del tribunal.
No, esta no es del
Ms.
costo del
Carvajal,
tribunal.
how much
Esta
are
es del...
you paying? Jeez, oh Pete. How much are you paying today?
Señorita Carvajal, ¿cuánto va a pagar el día de hoy? Oh, no, she's mute.
Del día de hoy voy a restar los 950 del mes de mayo. Para quedar en 0 bolívares. En $0, perdón.
Today I will pay the rest of the amount of 950 so that I will have the balance of 0 now.
Defendant is to pay the 950 today. I will adjourn this out to May 24th, 2024 at 3 p.m.
And Your Honor, if I get the payment, I think she says she's sitting outside the office. I'll verify that, hopefully have a dismissal over to you before the end of your day.
That's fine. That's fine. That's all I need to do. I'm putting it out 1 week.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's
Can you
all.
let her know, Mr. Pantera, please? Ma'am, can you let her know that I'm putting it out 1 week? If she pays it, the matter may be dismissed.
Yes. Bueno, se va a agendar para que se aplace esta audiencia una semana, sería para el 24 de mayo de este año a las 3 p.m. Y si ya se paga esta cantidad del día de hoy o de aquí una semana, entonces el caso se desestimaría.
Thank you,
Ok,
folks.
y la notificación me llegaría nuevamente a la casa para la próxima audiencia. Muchas gracias.
Okay, now we'll get a new notice on my house for the next hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Interpreter.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Court calls case of Beal Properties versus Malcolm Stevens.
Daniel Landsman appearing for the plaintiff, Your Honor.
Not having checked in.
Malcolm Stevens, they are not here. You paid for second service. That was accomplished. You may proceed. Well, have I sworn you today?
You have not, Your Honor.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Your Honor, based on the books and records of Beal Properties, currently there is rent to retain of $1,658.52. There's cost of $175 for a grand total of $1,833.52. We would respectfully request that a possession judgment enter in that amount with an order of eviction to issue after May 28th if said amount has not been paid or if the tenant has not vacated the premises.
Judgment to the plaintiff. That's by default for possession redemption amount in the amount requested, which issue 10 days. Beal Properties versus Melissa Daly and Carla Hartman and Cindy Hartman.
Daniel Landman, Your Honor, appearing for the plaintiff.
I can't hear anything.
Ms. Daly,
Yeah, I can barely hear you. You sound really far away.
you may need to turn up your volume.
It's turned up all the way. It was super loud and then all of a sudden it just went quiet.
I'm sorry.
It was loud and then when you were talking to the other lady and then it just went quiet. Like your microphone like went real quiet.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. This is a termination of tenancy action. What's your position on the termination of the tenancy, ma'am?
Well, I shouldn't even be being evicted. I didn't do anything wrong.
You'll have to speak into the microphone. You
harass-
move your
or
mouth. I
landlord
can't
bashing
speak.
me. The maintenance people would walk in my apartment without even addressing themselves, and then it was Rich and Deal came over. They just walked in and didn't knock, didn't address they was there, and then he sent me a text message. I was in the basement asleep. I didn't know, and my cousin was upstairs in the other bedroom, and he sent me a text message saying that that I needed to contact him urgently because it was all because they wanted to get pictures and let realtors come in and take pictures and everything. But when he came in, the boxes I had, because my basement was flooded, I had to move my stuff upstairs. And so when he come in, he seen stuff up in the living room, like stacked up the boxes. Plus, I never fully unpacked because me and Chandler, when I signed my lease with Chandler, had it an agreement right before my lease was up. He was going to move me to another property because I need a bathtub because I'm handicapped, and there's
Ma'am, are you
nowhere for
are
my
you
kids
gonna
to
want to
play.
be
So,
ma'am?
but
Are you gonna want to be represented by an attorney?
yeah, I need to. I went to legal aid, and he said because I didn't have a court date, I had to wait for my court date.
All right, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjourn this out 1 week, May 24th, 2024 at 2 p.m. for you to contact legal services.
Okay, May 24th, you said at 2 p.m.?
2 p.m. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much.
Your Honor,
Thank you.
I didn't ask this earlier this morning. I definitely want to make sure I ask now. On the 24th, are those appearances in person?
No, they can appear via Zoom.
Okay.
You'll be good if you're by Zoom.
Those were the 8:30, including the 8:30 cases that were adjourned. Those will also be by Zoom.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right,
And-
thank you.
And another thing I wanted to say real quick was he was trying to say my dog wasn't allowed here, but when I first moved here, I gave Chandler a doctor's note letting them know that she is my my service dog. And then Rich, like in October, told Chandler, "Oh, there's a dog there," and Chandler texted me like, "The dog isn't supposed to be there. You're gonna have to get rid of it and pay a fee." And then I called him and I said, no, or I text back, I said, no, I gave you the letter from my doctor. He said, oh, that's right, but you're still going to have to pay the fees. So that's when I just ended up calling him and I said, no, because she's my
Okay,
emotional
ma'am.
support animal. You
Ma'am.
can't charge me.
Okay,
Hello?
ma'am, make sure you talk to legal services and get their position on all of that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good weekend. I think that fully
You
covers
do the
us.
same, sir. Let's call the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Daniel Gates.
Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Morgan Barroso on behalf of the people.
Your Honor, Joyce Payne, Senior Assistant Public Defender. Your Honor, I've had an opportunity to speak to Mr. Gates and explain to him the position that our office is in at this time, that we discovered that there is a conflict because we have previously represented the complainant and that we were in the process of requesting new counsel for him, probably put in our request from the arraignment division maybe an hour before this motion was sent to our office. And with that, I've explained to him that the court has indicated that that Your Honor would reschedule this hearing for Thursday, where an attorney who is not with our office, who does not have that conflict, could appear and represent him. Understanding that he has now been in custody, waiting for this motion to be heard since it was filed Friday. I did offer him, if he wished, to waive the conflict for the purposes of today's hearing only, that if he wanted to place that on the record, I would argue that for him today.
All right. And with only one correction to what you said, and that is that the court would not understanding I didn't know what the defendant's decision would be when you went back to speak with him, that I could set it instead of Thursday, I could set it tomorrow. Also, I was looking at my scheduling, trying to make sure not to cause any unnecessary delay, but then I don't know if counsel would be appointed, whether they have time to review the motion, talk to the defendant, but that was something else that I had said. I don't mean to mix up everything, but I wanted to make sure all the options are available for the defendant to understand that.
Wait until tomorrow. Yeah, he's indicated that he can wait until tomorrow.
You want to wait? Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
You want to wait, have counsel that there isn't any issue whatsoever and hear it tomorrow?
So he's saying that someone who doesn't have a conflict, who's never had any contact or represented Miss Brittany Harvey for tomorrow. Okay. Okay, well, that's okay. One more day. Okay.
He wants to wait the day?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we figured out that was one, was my last block or two?
Two.
So we'd set it at two?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then what I will do is I'll adjourn the people's motion to modify bond to tomorrow, the 15th, May 15th at 2 p.m. You understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. That's what we're doing. Just to make sure, the MAC office is going to make sure counsel can happen. Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. Court does call the case, Barnes and Barnes property versus Jason Cloutier.
Ellis Freeman for the plaintiff here.
Hello, sir. Your name?
Jason Cloutier.
Okay. And where are we on this case?
2,106 total, 2106.
You were a bit muffled there for me.
$2,106.
All right. And sir, how are you intending on getting this paid?
I recently reached out to Jewish Family Services and they gave me a list of resources. The resources on your slideshow presentation also showed that I have veteran options also. I don't know if you can see me. I'm landscaping, doing lawn care right now. I just started this job 4 weeks ago. I'm trying to get caught up on everything. How am I trying to get this paid? Through grace, I suppose. No, through assistance, the safety net that our society provides. That's how I plan on doing this, along with the income that I have. I am a hopeful applicant for a job that I just interviewed for $73K this past Wednesday, but that doesn't help now.
Yeah, it doesn't. And the problem is that the main source of funding for the county, they're out of funds. And that hasn't yet been replenished and with no indication as to when it will be. So, there really isn't a dispute.
May I go ahead? Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask if I could have a stay on this for me to be able to contact these people. Like, unfortunately, with my work, I'm working from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So the active hours that are available for these resources is hard to reach.
All right, what I will do is I'm going to give you a 1 week adjournment. But if you apply for any type of assistance, then you'll have to file the proper paperwork by Wednesday of this week with the court.
That's the 22nd, correct?
Yes, sir. So it needs to be filed with the court. The paperwork that needs to be filed, can you see your screen? There's a QR code.
Yes.
Use that QR code. That will take you to the place where the form that needs to be filed with the court.
Okay, thank you.
You got that? All right. I'll adjourn this to May 24th. 2024 at
12 p.m.
12 p.m.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's it for me. I might have a dismissal.
Are your others? Or does call the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Daniel Elisha Gates.
Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Morgan Barroso on behalf of the people.
There's somebody from the public defender's office appearing with Mr. Gates. This is your case. I know. Council approach, please. Ms. Gaines, you might want to.
This is arraigned on Friday.
Great Friday. And this motion came to me yesterday, Friday or Friday. And then I think on Monday I set it for today.
Correct.
And I don't have. We didn't get a motion to, in order, a motion to withdraw or anything. It was done today. Who are they?
Whoever.
So here's the problem. Have they, do you know if they've given anybody?
Just a message out.
Were you in
Just the office.
to Jersey? What are you guys up to?
Well, what I'm thinking probably happened is they were arraigned, sent the conflict email, and approve it, which can sometimes take days.